New Thought Media Network proudly presents It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. With Laura Mock, Maria Hartman, Wendy Ann, and Lara Brzezinski. It's All Love, a space where we open into the heart, tap into the soul's deep wisdom, and enter into the energy of love, truth, presence, and joy. It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's All Love. You have our bookends. The Laura's here today with you as we send Wendy and Maria a lot of love as well. I'm grateful for their energy tonight, even though they're not physically present. We know they are spiritually and energetically. But we invite you into our community. We are here because we deeply believe in what we're saying. We believe it is all love, even all the other emotions that we can feel and experience. It is about aligning to the frequency of our truth, which is love. And so we come together in that frequency of love, presence, truth, and joy. And we're excited to be here with you tonight. We have been having some phenomenal conversations that we're excited to share with you. We always start, however, with a centering, invite you in. This is something that we do for ourselves. We offer this for others to just come in and to feel the presence of their beautiful being. So right before we begin here, I invite you, if you feel comfortable, if you're watching this later, just take a moment, if you feel, to close your eyes, to lay down, whatever you feel, just to take a moment and recognize that you are here right now, and allow the breath, this sacred air again that comes into our body, that fills us, and that we receive all this love from this place. And then we also give love from this place. But notice, as we breathe in, what are we doing first? We're consciously accepting the breath. We're accepting the yes. We are receiving the oxygen that we breathe. And from that place, then we're giving. So as you tune into your body, mind, and soul tonight, take a moment to become consciously aware of your breath. And notice, by nature, we breathe in and accept the gift that this air brings us. And then from wholeness and love, we then give. So just taking some moments to receive this, and give yourself permission to do so. And then give yourself the gift and the joy of giving back from this place. Again, from place of wholeness and love. Just take a few more conscious breaths in, receiving, and then allowing your body to give back. I often love to think about a tree, how we have this beautiful relationship of giving and receiving, and how we scientifically need each other to be on this planet. And so again, remembering this wholeness that you are. And if you ever need it, to just pause and have that conscious breath to say, I'm saying yes, I'm receiving, and now I'm able to give. And so with that, we welcome you again to It's All Love. And we're excited. Feel free to share your comments if you're watching live. Later, we have an email that you can give us inspiration, questions, ahas, thoughtful comments about what you want to reflect on with us, and anything that you feel. But we're glad you're here. And Laura, I love being with you so much. And I've had a wonderful Laura afternoon. selfishly. So let's talk. We had some really great ideas, and I want you to share the topic that we were going to dive deep into today.
Well, we were talking about what was the expression about from Dr. Gabor?
That women are the shock absorbers. We are the emotional shock absorbers of the world. And he said that, and if you just Google, we'll try to put that in the comments later. But if you Google, there's a beautiful reel that he did. I'm not sure who was interviewing him, but he was basically talking about how, this is very apropos, right? How the study of the sociology of women over the years, how we were at home, and that was just the role, that we were the homemakers, and the men went out, and the gatherers and the hunters and all, and those were the roles. And so women had the space and the time to be at home, and they naturally became the emotional centers of their family, because of the nature of the role. And of course, as freedom, as independence, as women were beginning to be seen as equal, which is a beautiful thing, and of course natural and normal and appropriately so, women began for different reasons to go outside, get a job as well. And then this, of course, over time. But what he said was, women still were the emotional centers of their body, even though the financial responsibilities, the energy responsibilities were now being spread out somewhat equally among spouses, but not the emotional responsibility. The emotional responsibility still was always on the female, the wife in a marriage. And so because of that, he said we became the emotional shock, the shock absorbers for everyone. And therefore that's where, autoimmune comes from. He's big on talking about body, mind, and soul. He was like, because women are exhausted, and they're taking care of everyone but themselves, and they're spread thin, is basically the theme of it. And please, we'll share this and have you look him up, because he says it so much more eloquent than I do. But it was such an aha to hear. And he talked about, and during COVID in particular, how women were still the shock absorbers during the pandemic, of just trying to make sure their children are okay, their parents are okay, their friends are okay, their spouse is okay, like their animals are okay, is the house, and forgetting about themselves. All right, Laura, I know what you want to
say. and tacking on to that is the role that women are supposed to stand back.
That's right.
And carry that. And it's been passed down. And what we were talking about earlier is, understandably, generations ago, it made sense. The divide and conquer, right?
Right.
You go out there and hunt and farm, and I will cook, because it takes a whole lot longer to make bread these days, because you have to grind the flour before you can mix it, right? So it made sense. But we carried forward generationally through the DNA, and through the teaching, the practice of not speaking up for ourselves, not sharing the responsibilities. And it shows up in the way that even we both have 86-year-old moms.
And we found that out today. Our moms are the same age. Yeah.
And while, yes, they're both capable and taking care of themselves and competent, there are places where they're not speaking up, where I can tell from my mom, even though she's the only one she has to take care of, she hasn't made that shift of, I've got to make myself my number one priority, even though she has a little dog she takes care of. And her life revolves around him. But it's that simple. What would it look like if we each, as moms, said, I have to take care of myself first in all aspects? And that includes speaking up. speaking our truth. It includes, I got to put myself to bed at a reasonable hour. And I'm not going to stay up for an extra hour after I put the kids to bed and try and do all this other stuff.
Right.
It's a complete shift. And we both are in the role of supporting individuals that come to us. And it's so much easier to see. We've talked about this before. You cannot read the label when you're inside the jar.
Ooh, I like that. I have actually never heard that before.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why someone else can give you such great advice on.
I love that. I'm stealing that.
Right, what's going on in your life is because they're not in it, and they also have a different perspective of how they were raised and what they're dealing with. And when you have the right person, the right counselor like you or I, that just asks questions instead of telling, right? That's what helps us to reveal the whys around why we're exhausted, why we do what we do, why we don't speak up, right? And it's always deep. It's never
very deep. And you were talking about right before we came on about breaking through, breaking the cycle of, and I do believe there's a lot of strong women there. I think a lot of cultures will talk about very strong women in their family. And I still would put it out there. I'm curious what anyone out there thinks or their experience. It's still strong women, and but they're still sacrificing for everyone else. Typically, they're still giving and giving to everyone else. And it's interesting to talk to an older person, and they may feel like our generation or other may be selfish. And it's an interesting conversation to have intergenerationally, because I understand where they're coming from, but I'm also, who was it I was listening to recently? It was an interview. It was another, so I was driving, I was listening to a podcast, and I think it was an actress, a really cool actress, and someone was interviewing her, and she was talking about how this younger generation, so this younger generation, they have a little cold and they don't go to set. And it was just an interesting thing to listen to. And then the other person who was their peer said, I think there's a balance here, because what this younger generation is teaching us, this woman said, I had pneumonia and I came to set and did a thing. And the interviewer said, I don't think you should have done that. I don't think you should have done that. Why are you doing that? Are you, and it's a wonderful thing for us to talk about. When I was a teacher, the thing I could not stand more is perfect attendance. We're teaching our children not to honor their body when they need a break, and they need to perform. And mothers are the ones doing that, right? And so to go back with what we're saying about our mothers, and we say this in honor of our mothers. I love my mother. Is anyone that knows her falls in love with her. She came from very humble beginnings, and was a very nurturing mother. And I'll give you an example of today. We went to the doctor. She's just been having 86-year-olds. Sometimes, especially if they're very active, even they still, things happen, and I won't get into details of that. But I watched the doctor. I went with her this time. I actually made that appointment. Speaking of the caregivers of the world, I know I'm listening myself, but I knew she needed an advocate, because this is this 3 weeks of this illness, of this thing. And so I called her doctor behind her back yesterday and talked to the triage nurse, and told her what was going on. And she said, bring her in. So I brought her in today, and she wasn't very happy with me initially, which is interesting because she doesn't feel good. So she does need help. And then the doctor examined her, and I was watching her. I stood beside her head as the doctor was doing different things with, mostly around her abdomen. And she loves her doctor. She's a wonderful doctor. I love this doctor as well. And she's like, let me know when you feel pain. And I'm watching my mom. She's focused on what she's doing. And I'm watching my mom's face, like grimace, subtly, but just so like grimace. And I'm like, speak up. And she's like, and she took And if anyone knows my mother out there ever watches this again, God knows I couldn't love her more. But she took her little hand and like don't. And I'm like, no. And I was like, no, you're hurting. You're hurting. Why are you not speaking up? And so the doctor said, Miss D, are you hurting? And she said, yeah, that hurts. Yes, it hurts. And then she did it again. We did this. We went around this 3 or 4 times. And finally she sat up. And the very first thing she said to the doctor was like, you are such a wonderful doctor. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cause any trouble. And you haven't done anything wrong, because this is her 3rd visit. Right. And the doctor was like, D, what are you talking about? And I said, Mom, what in the world? I said, this is your truth. But she was so concerned about being a hard patient and hurting this doctor's feelings. And this doctor, I won't talk about it too much more, but it made me emotional watching this woman who is so smart and so strong and was my first spiritual teacher in so many ways. And when she's been in pain for 3 months, like significant pain and hurting, she didn't feel like she could say anything. And it just made me sad. And that's what we started talking about earlier today, about what is going on, like what is being passed down to us. And I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to be with. And what can we do about this? This is the why. This is going on. And so now what? Laura, you're great about acknowledging the what. And then your famous thing is, let's put action behind that. Let's take one little step. So as mothers and daughters, let's talk about it.
Yeah. And bringing back to the focus of our conversation is, your mom has deep love and respect for the doctor. She
absolutely
love and respect for other people's time.
Yes.
She's just putting their needs, her perceptions, ahead of herself. And so it comes back to, she is not making herself her number one person in her life, her number one priority. I am the most important person in my life.
Right.
I'm saying that for myself, Laura.
Yes, I know. I am too.
And every single person, male or female or in between or neither, needs to claim it and stand in it, because it's one thing to say it, and after generations of not living it, it's sometimes a challenge to step into that. And that's what this is all about. It's all love. When we learn to love ourselves first, every aspect of ourselves, blue hair, straight hair, curly hair, no hair, whatever it is, right? Gray hair, that's what the blue's covering up, so you can't see my gray hair. But when we can get to the point of looking, I love this from Louise Hay, of looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I see you. I celebrate you. I honor you. I love you. But simply, I see you. I love you. Yeah. Because there is a soul that is operating this body. Right. And when the spirit leaves, this body says, my color's going to be gone. And my cheeks, I've seen it. I saw it, my dad. So it's
same.
It's feeling the soul within and saying, I see you. You are beautiful and magnificent and whole and complete just as you are. And it matters that I take care of this physical thing that you're living in.
Right.
And that's part of the education of recognizing that the two are one, right? We have to honor this vehicle. I love talking about our bodies as race cars. And I was sharing with one of my clients and said, when you put high octane fuel in a race car, it goes really fast. But if you were to pour sludge or oil or put fast food into a race car, it's not going to perform as well.
Right.
And sometimes we need these little analogies to say, wait a minute. Right. It is my responsibility to take care of the vehicle and the soul that
Right.
is in the vehicle. And coming back around to your mom and what we are talking about, moms and kids, is everything is love. Where are we placing it? Where are we putting the priority? And so again, your mom, she is a wonderful person. She loves people. She cares about people. She doesn't want to bother anybody because she loves people. And mama, you got to love yourself more than the doctor.
Yeah. Well, and you can love yourself, and it's not taking away from the love and appreciation you have for the doctor. And that is an extreme example that some of you may not, be able to relate to. But it is an example. There's subtle ways that we do this all the time. And I know that because I've had this conversation with her, I decided not to have the conversation with her today in the car. I was just really great. And of course she comes out, I'm really glad I'm going to have A, B, and C. And I'm thinking, if I had not been there to help you advocate for yourself, you would not be having A, B, and C, because she's working on your feedback. I mean, she can see only so much. She needs your feedback. She needs you to partner with her. She's begging you to partner with her. She's a great doctor. She wants you to do this. But a lot of times in the resistance that I have, and I remember this for myself, but I definitely see it with clients, is I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want to be self-involved. And I think the breaking down of this, which I think you do so well too, is like, let's pull this apart and let's clarify the languaging and the messages that we've gotten when you put yourself first. It doesn't mean that other people around you are going to be hurting. It actually means you're going to, and you've mentioned this before we started talking, more present, because you are more present. And so that's one thing. And then the other thing is the mirror thing. I had someone come recently and I did a little presentation. I sometimes do presentations at schools and self-empowerment and helping teachers take care of themselves, put themselves, because that's a very hard thing to do, put themselves first, give themselves the oxygen first. And this woman who came to me, it's probably been 2 years since I did that presentation. I do remember someone in the back leaving, and she said, that was me, because you asked us all to look in the mirror and look ourselves deep in the eyes and tell ourselves we loved ourselves. And it was too much for me. And I got really emotional. I had to leave. And now 2 years later, we're having this conversation recently about that, and she's more ready than ever. But again, I want to humbly say, I know that can be triggering for some people as well. And so it's, what we were talking about with your coaching in particular, it's the baby steps leading into this. And also, again, going back to discerning, having a healthy discernment. Like if you feel like Laura and I are arrogant, cocky, annoying, righteous people, then so be it. But I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to take a chance that you don't, maybe we do talk a lot. We love to talk a lot. We love to talk what we're passionate about. But I think if you, again, I am going to take it. I think if you would sit with us and know our hearts, I don't think you would think that we are righteous or we are arrogant and we just are very self-absorbed in a negative way. I think it's important for you and I to be able to say to people out there, I love myself. I value myself. I'm still working on, at times, I still notice some, generational things about suppression and, but I can look in you in the eyes and say, I love myself and I value myself, and I am going to put myself first, not because I'm better than anyone, because I'm honoring myself like I honor everyone else.
Yes.
And I think it's important to have people in your life. Like, can you think about someone out there that you admire, that you really look up to? And my gut would tell me that it's not going to be someone you would find arrogant or annoying or righteous or self-absorbed. And if they have a very powerful voice and they inspire you, then I would challenge you to ask them, do you love yourself? Do you value yourself? I would imagine they would be like, yeah, of course I do. Can you imagine them saying anything other than that? So we all are the same in this. This is universal. I like to think about it as humility and confidence, a humble confidence, because I don't think I'm above anyone, but I also don't think I'm below anyone. And I used to. And I watched my amazing mom. My mom grew up on a tobacco farm in North Carolina through, again, I won't get into the details of it. It would be a best-selling novel, and people probably wouldn't believe it. She got herself on the Freedom Train, literally the Freedom Train, offered to take her down to Mississippi because she got this incredible opportunity to go to college down there, which again was unheard of. She saw integration in that area, in that she saw all of this phenomenal wisdom, and then there still is that generational thing that she still doesn't believe she's worthy of telling her doctor, "Hey, I'm hurting. I need your help. I matter."
Yeah.
So, boy, how the timing of this, I'm like, I know what I want to talk about. And I want to use it to honor her and to say, and out into the universe, she matters, you matter. Everyone listening, present here in this moment or later, there's nothing you could convince Laura and I that you don't. And I could care less what you've done or haven't done. It doesn't matter. You matter. And so, Laura, thinking about those action steps, thinking about if someone is triggered by saying they're not the place where they can look themselves in the mirror and say, "I love you," and all the Louise Hay affirmations. What, again, love putting you on the spot. What would you offer? What would be a small action step that you would offer someone that's like, "Hey, that was too much for me. It was too emotional. This lady literally had to run out of the room when I said that." And it's good for me to know that. I don't regret saying it though. But I'm humble that's how low she felt about herself, that she couldn't imagine doing that. It hurt almost. What would you suggest in this situation? Like if someone came to you and said that, I couldn't handle it.
Well, I'm going to share my own personal story. Hopefully I don't cry.
And if you do, it's okay. I'm offering you tissues from here.
For years, I didn't look people in the eyes. I would stare at their teeth.
Oh, don't stare at mine. Oh, I'm so glad you don't. But you stare at their teeth. Why do you think?
I stare at their mouth because then you wouldn't really know I wasn't looking at you because I was looking at you, but I didn't have that within me to look you in the eye, because staring at somebody eye to eye, if you don't have that inner self-confidence of I matter and I'm worthy of having a conversation with you, like it was just a little subservient. Like if I make eye contact, I might stir something. I might, right? My nature was about keeping the peace and being peaceful and calm. And so I will make myself small and insignificant in some ways. There were some areas that I shone and I was loud, but if it was a situation where especially when it came to men, I would make myself smaller and just not challenging, right? Because eye to eye is a confidence stance. Mm-hmm. So for me, I started practicing with myself in the mirror, mm-hmm. and I started just looking and just being with me. And
did you try to do it for a period of time, or you just said, I'm just going to look at myself?
Yeah. So I'm just going to start looking at myself in the mirror, in my eyes, for a period of time. And mm-hmm. Mel Robbins shared what prompted her to start the high five habit was she was in a really tough place, emotionally, work, finances, and she was struggling to get out of bed. And one morning, she really looked up and recognized there's a human on the other side of that reflection. And she just instinctively reached her hand up to high five herself, to, without saying the words, I see you. I see you're struggling. I honor you. And that was where the high five habit came from, was a natural celebration of, I see you. I see that you're a person. I see you're hurting. And that developed into the next day. She did it again, and she did it again. And just that looking up and seeing and celebrating. So a physical, without saying the words, I honor you, helped. So it's, and I have had a child that was struggling for a while with that and said, I don't even like myself right now, Mom.
Right.
And so we started with, okay, what about yourself can you like? And we started with the one thing. That's one of my things. I thought I was going to write a book on this 7 years ago. Just one thing.
You may still.
Because it's one thing, one thought, one statement, one action.
Right.
That gets motion. So it's like, okay, what is one thing about yourself that you like? And they were able to come up with one thing. And then, is there anything else? Well, okay, yeah. And so I said, okay, so tomorrow we're going to do this again. And we're going to go, yeah, I like this about myself. And I just watched the energy. So we started with liking. We started with physical things. And we started with, well, you know what? And I had to kind of coach, well, are you a nice person? Yeah, I'm a nice person. Do you like that about yourself? Yeah, I do. I like that about myself. Okay, cool. So that's something you like about, yes, I like that I'm a nice person. So it's the building, and sometimes it's just the confidence or the giving yourself permission. Like it is okay for me to like myself. It is okay for me to love myself.
I think that is it. I think that is just to hear that enough to where someone will believe it. It's okay for me to actually like myself and not get confused with, like, doesn't mean that I'm, perfect or I don't have things to learn or to grow from. No, that's not the same thing.
Right.
I can just show up and say, I like myself. I like that. So going back to like that thing of where, it was overwhelming to look in the mirror and say, I love you. So the Mel Robbins thing, or the Laura Brzezinski thing of like one thing, just one thing, and maybe just acknowledging it. Where for you, it's just looking at yourself, like taking a moment to look at yourself in the mirror and just look at yourself. Maybe just start with that. And maybe it's just for a few seconds, and then you can try the Mel Robbins thing, or like what you did with your son or child. I'm not even sure, but like one small thing, and then begin to build from there. I think is extremely, extremely, extremely powerful. And then the goal is to work yourself into the other. But again, going back to what we've been talking about generationally, giving yourself permission.
Right.
And what do you think could be potentially any kind of
before you, if you could hold that question, because I want to close the loop on this. So I went from not being able to look people in the eyes, I was staring at their teeth.
Oh yeah.
Being able to look at myself in the mirror, to now I have full on fun, playful conversations with myself in the mirror. Because I am all about fun, right? Bringing joy in.
Joy.
I will have a conversation with myself. And this, like, Louise Hay gave me the permission to be playful. She would go by, she said she'd go by a mirror and be like, oh, darling, you look, she has a, I can't do her accent, but she would say, darling, you look marvelous,
You look marvelous.
But she would, compliment herself because it picked her up. And then she carried that uplifting energy out to where, and I went, I like that. So yes, I will have fun, playful. I laugh at myself. I have conversations. and that picks me up. So then I'm carrying that uplifted energy, that joyful, fun, playful energy with out to my next interaction, whether it's with a family member, someone in the grocery store, or online. So
And I love that, because I know that's why we're both passionate, and I'm thinking about this for you, why you're so passionate about helping women, because you know how hard that is not to be able to look at yourself, not to be able to look anyone else in the eye. Like the pain that's underneath all of that. And now there's the potential, there's the beginning of a new pathway, a new way of seeing things. And I know we can't stress enough. I promise you're worthy of this. My cat is cracking me. My cat saying I'm worthy. Animals will demand that sometimes. But I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is amazing.
And we're going to take a quick break for just about a minute to share about an upcoming conference. It's only a week and a half away, and there's still room if you live anywhere near Kansas City or can fly. It's awesome. And then we will be right back.
Great.
What I can say is, wow, there are so many New Thought celebrities in the room. I am telling you,
this is a real family reunion. And if you've never been, believe me when I tell you, you are part of the family. You want to come, you want to learn, you want to be hugged on, you want to be loved on. This is the place to be. So
it's a lot of fun. It's like a family reunion. We get together, we laugh and we cry, and we're together and we deepen, and it's a lot of fun.
When I think about all the retreats I've been to, all of the summers I've spent going to many places to get spiritual food, nothing really quite does it the way Anton does. There's a family sense here. You come here and you are surrounded by loved ones.
It's very much like to see you at the Anton Retreat 2025. There are lots of wonderful surprises.
Yeah, love that place. Yeah, love that place. Welcome back, everybody, to It's All Love, meaning heart to heart, soul to soul. We are talking about women loving themselves, giving themselves permission to put themselves first, talking about the generational things that have been passed down to where we don't even sometimes even realize that we're not giving ourselves permission. We don't realize how this affects us. And I love, Laura, you were talking earlier, and it may have been privately, I can't remember, about, also when you begin this journey, the power of reflection and the power of recognizing, like I just heard you do that. I just heard you acknowledge what the struggle was and begin to put small action steps in there. And then how you said, then I, took a pause and realized how far I've come. And I think women do that really well for other people, but often not for themselves. But anyway, I just love that. So thank you for sharing.
Well, and there's one more word that goes with that. We don't give ourselves permission enough, and we don't celebrate enough.
That's right.
And people think of celebration again as being what is the word I'm trying egotistical, right?
Yeah. We
celebrate when somebody wins a tournament, right? When they win this, we win that. Oh, you put all this effort in that moment. What that individual is probably doing that nobody sees is celebrating every day they show up on the tennis court to practice over and over, and honoring the journey that they're making. And when we don't celebrate our actions and our progress, we have a tendency to not take as many or make as much. And so that's the other thing, along with giving ourselves permission. But one, the awareness, this is what we talked about earlier, is taking stock and taking the time to bring your awareness to, how do I feel? What does my life look like? And is it everything I wished it was? Is my body everything I wished it was? Are my relationships, my career, how I'm showing up, are all of those everything that I wished it was? And with discernment, not judgment. We're just bringing awareness. We're shining the light on to say, you know, I am feeling kind of tired these days.
Right.
Then, well, I wonder what's going on. Diving into whatever that one thing is, and then, okay, what's an action? I like little threes, and so it's my 3 S's. What is one simple, small, and specific action that I can take towards that, and then celebrate that I made the action? Because a lot of times inertia happens and we think, oh, I have to do this big thing. And so, oh, that feels too much, too heavy. Like, oh, I got to lose 10 pounds. And so we're focused on the 10 pounds instead of, you know what? I'm going to put my shoes on and go walk 1 block today. And no, that's not going to have an impact on the 10 pounds that you might want to be releasing off your body. And it is one action that got you into motion. From that one action, then, oh, what's the next one action? And I learned this with clutter clearing and cleaning.
My favorite thing. Yeah.
And I love where she said, start with the simplest, easiest, which is trash. Just throw trash away, because you can identify it. You know what it is, and you know where it goes.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into clutter clearing, but the principle, it matters in every area of your life. What is one simple, small, specific action I can take that I know when it's done? I got this from Marie Forleo. It's check offable. I did it. And then go, I did it. I took action. And there's something about that momentum, that self-pride, right? Honoring ourselves. Okay. So then it's what's next? And then after a bunch of actions, this is where the accountability comes in to say, okay, did any of that work? Is it working? Am I feeling it? It's our reflection. It's our review. And I say accountability because then it's 3 A's: awareness, action, and accountability.
I mean, it's fancy. I like it.
Triple A's. But when we're doing the reflection and saying, okay, and I tend to sit a little bit taller and go, wow, I just did all of that. Okay. And I want to hold myself accountable to that desired outcome, that shift I want to make. So then what's next?
Right.
And when it comes to this, women, moms, looking at their lives going, I want my kids, and really this is what makes me cry, I want my kids to grow up loving themselves, self-confident, knowing their worth, knowing they have value, knowing that they're about to go do something out in the world. And it might have a little impact, it might have a big impact. It doesn't matter, as long as it is serving them and serving the world. And I want to be the best role model. And if I'm not exercising, if I'm not eating healthy foods, if I'm not going to bed on time, what am I demonstrating? And then what's the ripple effect that is going to happen to them, and then how they ripple out into the world? So again, that's why, yes, you said I love working with moms. I love working with moms because we are carrying so much from generational, which is understandable, and trying to do it all, and not wanting to bother anybody, so we don't ask for help. And we're the role models.
Yeah.
So there's so many reasons wrapped up in there to go back to, it's all love. So what is the first place, the best place that I can start with love? Is showering on myself.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a mic drop moment. I think we should just let everyone absorb that for just a second, because I don't want to talk over it. Yep. That's it. I mean, and then the only way we were talking about kind of ending that generational piece, or beginning, to do something different. The only way is we do have to challenge the status quo of the it's not even a habit, I don't believe. We're modeled and modeled and modeled and modeled. Even if you had a very strong mother, a very opinionated mother, that's not what we're talking about. She was probably very opinionated, and maybe she was manipulative, or like all, because probably somewhere along the line she didn't know how to value herself. Like these things get mixed into many different things. Not valuing yourself and not putting yourself in a very authentic, loving way first reflects in many different personality traits among mothers. Controlling, neglectful, all of it can go back to think about when you are around someone that has strong self-worth. One, they don't need to be the center of attention all the time, right? They're not craving it, but they also will speak when they have something to say and share and explore. There's a balance and a harmony within them that just feels good to be around. And if you didn't have that with your mother on any extreme, as it's a generational, like there's a reason. And so I think our generation, I'm 51. I think we're kind of all, this whole group is around the same age. I think we're here to have these conversations because frankly, the generation below us and the one below that, they're trying to do the same thing. And I think we need to have more conversations and make it normalized, and again, discern between what is self-care and what other people for generations have deemed selfish. If you go ask your mother or your grandmother, or you have memories of that, what the belief was being selfish was for them, or just take any belief, generationally speaking. Think about, I was talking about my mother in Mississippi during desegregation. I'm going to assume that most people listening to this podcast can, are right there with us. Like that is just like my son still can't wrap his head around. He's like, that's just the craziest thing to me. Like, what? How did that happen? So we can see these things on a social and global, how things at times, maybe slower than we like, are moving into humanitarian to treat everyone as a valuable person. The one thing I think the lags behind, even though there was a feminist movement and the different things, I still feel lagging behind is women valuing themselves and knowing how to put themselves first. I think we can see it. I think we can see the generational dysfunction and a lot of societal things that came out as like segregation, what my mother saw end, but then also a lot of trauma, still a lot of pain in that. But the women not feeling like they're valued and enough that's still so lagging behind all these other social and maybe social issues, social things. We just don't talk about it enough. And I think that's where all these podcasts are beginning to come out, with women talking to other women and empowering. And I know that's something that we both are very passionate about. In particular, Laura, I think that's the crux of your entire practice, is saying, hey, I know how this feels, I understand where it comes from, and I know how good it feels not to feel that way anymore. It's actually easier. Your relationships around you actually feel better, and you're more present, and you're in love more with the world. So that's why you feel so passionate about doing this, in particular for that group of people. So those of you out there, if you're listening, take Laura's advice. Do one small thing. What was it, Laura? Wait, let me see. I know it was small step specific.
Simple,
small,
and specific.
Thank you. I had it. It takes me a couple times and I've got it. But think about that. The 3 S's, the 3 A's. I love it. Anything else on your mind?
Yeah, well, I would say, so ironically, everything has to start here. No one can give me self-worth. No one can give me The feeling
That's
of
right.
I'm enough. No one is going to put me first unless like, oh, you get to go to the front of the line. But the feeling has to come from inside. However, we need each other to reflect. I see you, not
Right.
just in my own mirror, but I see you. I see your value. I see all of this. And that's where guiding my child to say, okay, what's this one thing that you like about yourself? That is why we need each other to help us see what we can't see for ourselves. And
That's right.
then we can let go of the false beliefs. Then we can, build I've heard, the tracks of our in our brain, the neural pathways, right? They're like a farmer who took his wheelbarrow on the same path years, and it's his deep
That's
rut,
right.
right?
That's
So it takes some time from all that I've studied and learned, that the psychologists and the psychiatrists and the neuroscientists that actually study the brain, that say it does take time because it's a pattern that you've had and it's so ingrained. So it takes practice. It
Yeah.
takes time to go from looking at somebody's teeth to looking in somebody's eyes and seeing them and holding their gaze and holding within yourself that confidence. So that's one thing that I would say, is that whatever your practice is, celebrate every step of your practice. Hey, I'm up to the nose. Yes. I looked at their eyes for a second.
Like it can just be an inch of growth, literally. I don't even know if that's a full inch, a half an inch. Yeah. And I think when you're talking about, I love that. I've heard that from a lot of neuroscientists about that. Like you walk that path and it's just so ingrained. I also, when you're on the path that generations before you were on too. Like you're not just doing this for yourself. That's why it sometimes feels heavy and arduous and a lot, because you are. I mean, I watched it with my own eyes today, even though I've known this, to see it that up close in a medical situation. I mean, took my breath. And there was aspects like, oh, I can see where I've struggled with this because she struggled with this because and so I love the idea of patience with taking. That's where those 3 S's come in: simple, small, specific.
Yes.
And I would step a simple, small, specific step. And that's where that really does matter. And I think some people can be like naysay, like, oh, that's not going to make it. Everything starts, speaking of we're talking about desegregation, Martin Luther King Jr., his famous quote, you don't need to see the whole staircase, or you just want to take the first step.
Yes.
And the first step from Laura was from the teeth to the nose, to the upper rim, to, oh, it's getting close, and we all have those things, and we giggle because we can celebrate it and enjoy now. But, going from the teeth to the nose and being willing to take a step, and giving it time to let it get ingrained in you. It's okay. And that's where, if you look out there in the world, I'm a spiritual counselor. Laura is, I consider her a spiritual life coach, specifically with women. She could do it with anybody, but that's her passion, if I may speak for you. And look at all the people, look at all the women that are out there in empowering roles like this. Why are they doing that? Why are all these books written? Why? Probably because they suffered, they struggled, and then someone saw them. They begin to see themselves. They begin to see the light inside.
Yes.
And now women love to pay it forward.
Yes.
Because we get it and we understand. Like Oprah said, you educate a woman in a third world country, you educate the entire tribe. There's a lot of other reasons for that too, because they're the main caregivers and but think about that. Why are you and I out here doing this? I was not born with this, like, I feel great. And I'm worthy. I was not. I think I was born with it. I think it's my birthright. But the world affects, so the world has gotten so much that we're here to say there's another way. And the one thing I do want to say before we leave, and I'm going to let you conclude, Laura, because I think you have great conclusions, is to know your worth. It's not, again, it may not be what you think it is, but to take some time and space to be like, what I've been doing or what has been taught to me is not working. You don't have to suffer. You really don't. And even under hard circumstances, there can be peace and joy and love, and then that can be expanded out to here. So just taking that, as not exactly want to say, I think what I was going to say is too long, but taking just one moment to be like, is today the day that I'm going to entertain the idea of looking myself in the mirror, giving myself a high five, offering something? Is today the day to take that step? All right, Laura.
And this is what I ask my questions all the time when they come to an aha. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that each one of us, as I said, whatever gender we're in, knows our worth and feels valued and valuable, and I have a right to take up space? Why does it matter? I want to hear what you have to say first before I share, because I have an answer.
I know you do. And I'm not going to take this as a test. So why does it matter? Repeat the question again.
Why does it matter that every person knows their worth, knows that they have value, and they have a right to take up space?
Can you imagine the world that knows that, and they're not mattering from an egoic better than place. They're knowing that they matter. And then when you know you matter, you know everyone else does too, because, and this is the spiritual part of me, when you know yourself, you know God, you know the divine, you know love. So when you know yourself, when you know you matter, because why would you be here if you didn't matter? Of course you matter. If you think about logically and scientifically, you're here, you're born, this is your birthright. You matter because you're here. You were born. You were supposed to be here. You take up space. So can you imagine? So when you know you matter, you know yourself as love.
Yes.
So if you're sitting beside everyone that knows himself as love, I almost said a dirty word. Holy heck. Can you imagine what that would feel like?
Love is giving, right? Love is kind. Love is patient. Love is generous. Love is not fear and hate and discrimination and all of those things that we're seeing played out. That is why it matters that every person loves themselves. And if we can start with moms who have such a powerful impact with their girlfriends, with their spouse, with their kiddos, that's how we change the world, because it's all love. It's all about love. It comes back to love. I know that when I love myself, I feel great. I'm kinder. I'm more patient. I'm more open. I'm more creative. I'm more giving. And that's what I want for everybody. So with that, we're going to do a super fast wrap up. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have any, that's not the one I meant. If you have any questions, comments, you want to sit here and have a conversation with us, send us an email, connect@itsallove.com. If you are interested in what Laura does, she is part of the Vistara School of Wisdom. You can find information at vistaraschool.com. You can send them an email, info@vistaraschool.com. But it is a collective environment for people to show up and shine and share their gifts and be in collection, be in a creative energy space together. And if you're curious about what I do, info@radiantjoycoaching.com. Don't look for the website. It's not quite there yet, but it will be. And with that, please join us again next week, 4:00 Mountain, 6:00 Eastern, for It's All Love. Thanks so much for being here whenever and wherever you are when you watch it.
Much
Bye-bye.
love. Bye.
I forgot what I was doing.
Better you than me.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.